I always remember turning around to one guy and saying, "How are you getting on?" And he just looked up and he was sitting down and he just looked up at me and he went, "It's better than sex, boy."
Sir Henry's had an awful habit of being the place that would be identified with the darker side of it more easily. Right. Because we were doing things that were innovative, because we were doing things that are new. Whether they're indie nights or house nights or gig nights or whatever, or putting on a play or anything like that, or the kind of new things. And a bit of the baggage that came with the whole thing was the ecstasy culture.
Any musical movement that makes a difference coincides with the arrival of a new drug. You could say the same with the psychedelic music scene in the late 60s. This was kind of similar. Ecstasy was a new thing that opened up all kind of new, streams of consciousness for people. Nobody had ever experienced anything like it before. So it was very revolutionary like that. That scared the shit out of people who were not part of the kind of drug culture.
An amazing thing was, I think, if you remember, when you first used to go there, because the Hacienda at that point was, everyone was on ecstasy, and it hadn't quite hit there.
No.
Or not flooded there, and
everyone was on stout.
People were on stout, and which was amazing and great because, they seemed to be having the same ecstatic feelings that people there did on a pill.
You don't need the drug to enjoy house music. You definitely don't. But it made us, I think that at the time it made us understand it. The full experience at that time was to take the drug with the music. It was a release. It was something that a lot of young people wanted at that time. We wanted it. We didn't know what we wanted before we went in there, but we knew that's what we wanted when we got in there. I mean, it's a very dodgy subject talking about ecstasy and house music, but
it's not really an issue anymore. I think
back then,
it was
like
a hot issue.
It was a very hot issue.
Yeah, it was sort of the.
Now it seems like God. Does anybody care about that kind of thing anymore? It happened and people did it. So what could you do? At the time, sometimes you would have got annoyed. That it would always seem to be like about things like that rather than about what you were doing. Things, but it was always like the obvious way in was through that. Like, so it was kind of annoying. And the media always loved those kind of things, scare stories and that, and the youth and young people out of their minds.
The Hacienda was huge at the time. I mean, it all started really with the likes of the Hacienda, like in '87. The whole dance thing was fueled by them and a couple of clubs in London and all these underground clubs all over England. So to get somebody from the Hacienda over was a real guest thing, like, and just people went mad for it.
There was nothing like it. When the Hacienda opened a few years before I started, but what year did it open?
82.
Yeah.
Nearly got it 10 years out then.
Yeah, it was just a venue that put on things that other clubs really wouldn't touch. It wasn't really a club venue. It was more of a concert venue, wasn't it?
And it was both. But it was the leader. It was the first place that sounds weird now, but it was the first place where the DJs didn't have a microphone.
Yeah.
It was the first place that had a weird design, like no clubs were designed like that. It was the first place that the door policy was that there was no door policy. If you behaved yourself when you got inside, that was great. Because up till then, you used to have thugs in ties, didn't you? Clubs that would let you in if you put a shirt in town, but they were usually the biggest thugs in town. And alternative people, or whatever you want to call it, never got into places.
There was nowhere else in the country you could go to hear. Well, I was doing something in Nottingham, that's why Mike asked me, but there was nowhere else in the country that was playing all this amazing house music that came from North America.
I kind of went away from the night thinking, wow, this is how you do it.
It
was very. I think it was very important.
It was.
For me anyway,
and it changed the way you DJ'd and everything. Like, cause he did go from like house, and he went down into hip hop and built it up from hip hop tracks back into house again, and mixed it together, which we really hadn't seen.
Yeah. Right. And just I think the idea of programming as opposed to just mixing the beats together.
Well, we never programmed the set.
Well, no, we never programmed the set. No.
I don't think as a DJ you can, because you're the soundtrack for the night, and you're watching the crowd, and you know when they're gonna to take them down a bit, and then all of a sudden let it explode, and it's the whole thing of peaks and
Troughs.
Peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
Drama, and and we knew how to do that.
You saw with him that
It
you
was
could
more
actually,
thoughtful
you could build this
kind
thing
of-
into it. You know, you could use your intelligence, and you could turn it into a. You know, people might go away thinking, "Wow, never thought of those two records together," but they make sense. Yeah. So that was a big turning point, really, for the whole idea. And we were then getting the records mail order from Russ in Spinning, who was putting our bags, were the same as the bags that Graham Park and Mike Pickering were getting. So we were kind of right up to the minute with the house music. So you were getting probably all the best of it at that time. So I suppose it just followed on from there.
We set him up through Russ so that he'd send a lot of the stuff we were playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then Russ came out.
What did we get out of it then?
We didn't. Russ got a gig out there.
Oh, right.
A lot of people from Power FM, where we bought our equipment initially, were Henry's disciples, if you like. They used to come down from Dublin specifically to go to Henry's. It was a place in Ireland that was playing the best house music, and had been for years.
Weekenders were nuts. Weekenders were absolutely nuts. Generally, they used to. They'd have a load of DJs on a Saturday night. They'd have a load of DJs on a Sunday night. I remember they got. I remember they got one particular weekender. They gave over the room downstairs. The Village, I think. Yeah, the Village downstairs became the Relief Records room. Relief Records were. I think, where were they from, Relief Records? They were from Chicago. It's a really small label, Relief Stroke Casual, really small label from Chicago. Now they got much bigger. But at the time, I remember Greg saying to me, oh, blah, 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 Relief Records, we were going to have a Relief Records room downstairs, and I was kind of, oh, yeah, and those guys, Relief Records. First one was the best one, just from a nostalgia point of view, because of the whole, it was just, the trepidation of will it work, will it, whatever, but I think we worked hard at the first weekend and got it really, really well. Maybe we got a bit lazy on the other ones,
They'd open the entire kind of building basically.
So you could go anywhere.
There might be 5 rooms of music, ranging from like Chicago, Jack and Crazy, tech house.
Lauren Garnier or Claude Young.
Like, some live hip hop in the back bar, or some beautiful New York.
I think one night we
music.
did we have Claude Young downstairs and Lauren Garnier in another room and some New York DJ and Boo Williams. It was just outrageous lineups. Yeah. So, and I mean, at that time there was no big things going on in the country either. So you got people to travel. That was really the idea. Was to pull all these different people in and see what would happen, and put a load of people on and have a huge party for a weekend.
I remember Lauren Garnier was playing on the Saturday night, and Carl Cox was playing on the Sunday night. So a big gang of us went to Lauren Garnier. We were absolutely twisted now at the time as well. Oh God, yeah. But I remember the place was rocking now. It was really, really, really big, really rammed. And he was playing his kind of hard, kind of techno, funky kind of house, typical Garnier kind of stuff. And about 2 o'clock in the night was really, it was kind of peak time of the night. He mixed in Donna Summer track, I Feel Love. And when it came, I always remember when it came to the chorus, he kind of hit these strobe lights. And I swear to God, I actually thought the roof was going to be lifted off the building. It was one of the most exhilarating moments in the club I've ever had. I remember to this day. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. No, it was probably fueled by things as well, if you know what I mean. But it was great. It was fantastic.
For me, it was the Capricorn 20 Hertz, because so many people talked about that song that night afterwards at parties. I mean, it was just, do you remember this song that, as it was described as, some people were saying it was like a marching band was coming into the room as the dance music was on.